Johnny Carson died in his Malibu home.
Johnny Carson died today after a long battle with emphysema.
His loss has shaken everyone from Hollywood and beyond.
It was a blow. It was on a personal level. People ask me who inspired me and who do I feel responsible for my success. He's at the top of the list.
I felt, tremendous sadness when I heard it.
Johnny died peacefully in his beloved beachfront home, where our Mark Steinis is standing by. And Mark, he was surrounded by his family.
Mary, it is easy to see why Johnny loved it so much here in Malibu. His estate on the bluff here overlooking the Pacific Ocean is where his wife Alex and his two sons said their final goodbye. It has been relatively quiet, with the only people seen coming and going are the groundskeepers.
I had a strange day. It went very ambivalent. I've been crying one minute, laughing the next. So
This morning, Johnny's longtime sidekick appeared with Katie Couric on Today and said that Johnny's classic monologues are one of the treasures he's left behind.
And, he just captured what was going on in the country, and he felt what the people needed.
Shortly after the news of his passing broke, I went on CNN to talk about the loss of this legend. Occasionally, he would come into Beverly Hills and have lunch. My husband ran into him. It couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 months ago. And Johnny said, "You be sure and tell Mary hello. I'm watching Entertainment Tonight every night." Johnny announced that he suffered from the respiratory disease emphysema in 2002. The longtime smoker even had a cigarette in hand during the early years of The Tonight Show, but later dropped the on-air habit.
It's compulsive. I should go to one of those places where they shock you or do something or show you old reruns of Gilligan's Island to make you give up smoking.
In recent years, the man who changed late night was rarely photographed or seen, keeping a low-profile life, spending most of his time on his yacht, the Serengeti. Carson is survived by his fourth wife, Alex. The former Alex Moss was married to Johnny for nearly 18 years, his longest marriage. A proud father, Johnny had once had son Corey as a guest on The Tonight Show, where he played classical guitar.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
See you after the show.
When can we do it again?
On his final Tonight Show in 1992, Johnny paid tribute to his two sons in the audience.
Guys, I want you to know I love you, and I hope your old man hasn't caused you too much discomfort.
Just a year earlier, Johnny's son Rick had died in an automobile accident.
It would have been a perfect evening if their brother Rick could have been here with us. But I guess life does what it's supposed to do, and you accept it and go on.
Night after night, Johnny tucked in millions of fans with his quick wit and smooth brand of humor. He made us laugh and is responsible for discovering the faces of many of today's top comics.
My first time on television was with Johnny Carson, January 8, 1971. I went on that show, and the next day, I had $10,000 worth of job offers.
I did his show 2 months before the end, and it's my big, huge, exciting break that I loved. And he came backstage and said hi to me and calmed me down, and it was pretty great. One of my favorite things that's ever happened in my little career.
Before everybody came to love Raymond, Johnny gave the struggling stand-up his big break.
My dressing room door opened, and he came in, and he shook my hand, and he says, "Boy, you got to be real happy with that." And then I also got to have lunch with him about 5 years ago. Just as classy and funny and as engaging as you see on TV, even more so.
Joan Rivers had been Johnny's vacation substitute until they had a falling out after she signed on to do her own talk show on Fox.
I called Johnny immediately when we had made the deal, and he hung up on me. And that made me so sad because I met my husband through him and my career, and there are very few people I had such respect for.
Are you going to be staying out here long, or?
I'm leaving tonight. I got to drop the audition tape off over at CBS, and then I'm going.
Through the years, Carson kept in touch with his close friend David Letterman and wrote jokes for the Late Show host to the very end. In a statement, Letterman said, quote, "All of us who came after are pretenders. We will not see the likes of him again." Jay Leno, who took over Carson's late-night chair, said, quote, "No single individual has had as great an impact on television as Johnny. He was the gold standard." He was so beloved, I spoke with his longtime friend and frequent Tonight Show guest, Don Rickles.
When was the last time you saw him?
About 4 or 6 months ago. And he was, pretty much quiet. He was on his yacht, and he stayed in the house. And he came with Alex's beautiful wife. And he sat with us. It was so great, Mary.
But why did Johnny shy away from the spotlight?
He loved life. He loved being alone. He loved it.
But it always amazed me that he socially was really quite awkward.
He was uncomfortable with a lot of people. And yet when the light went on, as you know, Mary, he was magic.
I'm one of the lucky people in the world. I found something I always wanted to do, and I have enjoyed every single minute of it.
He was reclusive. He was himself. He was guarded. But when that light went on, as Ed McMahon said, he was made for television.
The Carson family announced there will be no public memorial for Johnny. Comedian Tom Dreesen, who appeared on The Tonight Show more than 50 times, told me why.
There will be no service at all, as you understand. Why so?
Because Johnny is a private person, and I'd be willing to bet that 20 years ago he wrote in his will, you know, private, no big hoopla.
They say if you look an animal right in the face and talk to them, then they know you're not scared.
Many of the show's best moments came courtesy of animal trainer Joan Embry.
He was the stabilizing influence. He was the security. He was in control.
I guess you can probably remove him from there if you want to.
He's just uncomfortable. Through the animals, people were able to see a very soft inner side of Johnny Carson.
Johnny and Joan had a special friendship, and she shared with us the letter Johnny wrote to her in his own hand after he had quadruple heart bypass surgery in 1999.
It says, "Dear Joan, it was almost worth the surgery to receive such a lovely letter. It went very well, and I'm feeling better than before. I too miss our get-togethers on The Tonight Show."
Perhaps the most surprising aspect to Carson is how he managed to keep his personal life out of the spotlight, except for one thing. Coming up from stage 28, Johnny's wives. Joan, the mother of his sons. Joanne, wife number 2.
I don't think of myself as the ex anything.
The third Mrs. Carson in her multi-million-dollar settlement.
He doesn't trust very many people.
And what his widow Alex told Barbara Walters just last night.
Alex Carson and I have been friends for many years.
Make it one for my baby.
Bette Midler won an Emmy Award for that unforgettable serenade on Johnny's Tonight Show farewell. It was the culmination of the countless incredible TV moments that made Carson the king of late night.
5, 4, 3.
Basically what I am is an entertainer.
Music, hey.
My only philosophy is to go out and make people laugh. The trick is to come out every night and try to get something out of nothing, and if you keep your curiosity and you keep your interest, and generally enjoy it, I think it'll show on the screen.
I didn't even know you were Jewish.
For 3 decades, everybody who was anybody sidled up next to Johnny, and America collectively snuggled and watched.
You go right ahead there, do your impressions, don't be nervous.
To say it to the king, I told you, the silver fox sitting here, John, you look marvelous, does he not?
I just wondered, rumors about the Cartwrights being homosexual. They were great.
I didn't mean that.
And I am here to set the record straight. We were not. Thank God Hop Sing was.
Oh, thank you so much.
But Johnny did so much more than get the best out of his guests. He also had his own comic alter egos. Remember this? This is the turban that he wore for the Great Karnak. It's from the Commissar collection.
Turner and Hooch. Turner and Hooch.
What's the rudest thing you can do to a girl in a church? I like to go from something that can be rather sophisticated and then do an outrageous, full-blown burlesque sketch.
Hello there, feature film freaks. Art Fern here with today's feature film. Woody Harrelson, Woody Allen, Woody Guthrie, Woody Woodpecker, Woody Herman, Herman Munster, and Dumpo, the Wonder Pigeon, in Heidi Suffers an Estrogen Avalanche.
And when he finally called it a night in May of 1992, Johnny shared a tearful ballad with his final guest, Bette Midler.
Funny how love becomes a cold, rainy day. Funny that rainy day is here.
Some of Johnny's greatest moments on TV have nothing to do with The Tonight Show. They were those priceless ad-libs during his 5 times as host of the Oscars. And tomorrow on ET, the real Oscar race begins with the nominations. Will it be Leo or Jamie, Hillary or Annette? I'll be live from the Oscars home, the Kodak Theater, with who's in and who is left out of this year's award.
Tonight's story from Stage 28 ends here in Malibu, where Johnny lived with his wife Alex for 17 years. He managed, for the most part, to keep his private life private, except for his string of marriages and divorces. E.T. opens the video vault for the women in Johnny's life.
I've never met anybody like this. The honesty, not compliment. I mean, I said, I'm going to marry that man. I just fell in love with him at that moment.
Those marital mishaps were the source of much humor, often at Johnny's own expense.
I was married to a Pisces once.
I'm sure you were.
Oh, yeah.
Even on his Tonight Show swan song, Bette Midler kidded about his luck at the altar.
And when I can't sleep, I count your wives at night.
Johnny was married 4 times. First wife Joan was his college sweetheart and the mother of their 3 sons. After 14 years, they divorced in 1963. Within months, Carson married Joanne, wife number 2. That lasted 9 years.
He was him. He was the same on camera as he was at home. He was just as funny. He was just as conscientious. He was just as caring. He was just as dedicated.
They called it quits in 1972, and Joanne received a reported $75,000 per week as part of the settlement. Despite the years that had passed, she still felt close to him.
And I just adored him with all my heart. And I still do.
But when it came to talking about their divorce...
That's real painful. I think I was a little young when I married him, and I made some mistakes.
Wife number 3 was Joanna. The one-time model's marriage to Carson lasted 10 years, and when it had run its course, she received a reported $20 million settlement.
It was very hard for him to express his feelings to people. Really only those he trusts a lot. He doesn't trust very many people.
I basically am what I am. I'm not that gregarious a person, you know, when I'm off camera.
But the woman who was by Johnny's side right to the end was 4th wife Alex. 25 years his junior, she reportedly met Carson when he saw her strolling on the beach by his Malibu home and offered to fill her empty wine glass. They wed in 1987, and in 1999, she was calling 911 when Johnny had a heart attack.
What's the problem? Oh, my husband's having severe chest pain. Is he sitting up or lying down? He's standing right now. We're getting dressed to leave. Is his skin pale, cool, or clammy? Are you pale, cool, or clammy? No.
Barbara Walters has known the couple for a long time, and she spoke to Alex yesterday.
I didn't want to intrude, but I did want her to know that we all loved her and that she had made Johnny so happy for 17 years. She told me that the family was with him when he died.
He was, always will be, one of the most magnificent people I've ever known in my life. The most generous, the most caring, the most sensitive, the most loving. He is one of a kind. He is the best of the best.
Joanne also told us that she had stayed connected to Johnny after the divorce and that she was pleased with the happiness he found with Alexis. Now, tomorrow on E.T., who is Alexis Carson? New revelations about their secret life and their last days together.
Alex and Johnny Carson were soulmates.
Then, the dark side of Carson's fame. His ex-wife, Joanna, on the assassination attempts that sent him into hiding. That's tomorrow. Make sure to be here tomorrow for the latest reaction to the passing of Johnny Carson and our special story on his widow, Alex. Mary?
She's a terrific lady, Mark. And then E.T. will be there for Jay Leno's special Tonight Show tribute to the King of Late Night. Good night, everybody, and goodbye, Johnny.
So thanks for the cheer.
I bid you a very heartfelt good night.